Do you speak Black English or Ebonics, also known as African American Vernacular English, AAVE? Or do you speak what some people call proper English? Or, like me, every time you go back to Chicago as a kid, do they say you're whitewashed or you speak proper English? In the cultural fabric of America, language has always served as both a marker of identity and a site of conflict. One such example is African American Vernacular English, but the more popular way to say that is referred to as Ebonics. Often misunderstood, miscategorized, or outright mocked, Ebonics is not merely a slang or dialect. It's a fully developed linguistic system with deep historical roots. But do all Black people speak Ebonics? And how and why did this form of English even develop in the first place? Well, in this video, we're gonna talk about it. Hi, my name is Jared, and I talk about interesting stories and trends in Black culture because, as you guys all know, Black culture is just that interesting to me. If you share my interests, hit the subscribe button and let's deep dive into some interesting Black culture and history in every episode. To understand Ebonics, one must first acknowledge that language evolves in context. Ebonics emerged as a result of centuries of historical circumstances that shaped the African American experience in the United States. Enslaved Africans brought forcibly to America from diverse language backgrounds had to communicate not only with English-speaking slaveholders, but also with each other. The linguistic fusion that occurred birthed a unique form of English, one shaped by West African linguistic patterns, the conditions of slavery, and as importantly, the type of English that was spoken around the slaves. This is the part that doesn't get talked about enough. That Southern whites had and still do have a way of speaking English that's very similar to what is considered Ebonics. Black people came to the Americas speaking various languages like Igbo, Yoruba, Kikongo, Mindi, and many, many more. But on the plantations, these languages were suppressed. Communication with slaveholders, overseers, and among enslaved people from different African regions required a common tongue. The language inevitably was English, but the English that enslaved Africans encountered was not the formal British English of textbooks. It was the English of rural Southern whites, rich in dialect, full of regional idioms, and heavily inflected by the Scot, Irish, Anglo, and other European immigrant influences that defined the South. This Southern English was a key ingredient in the development of what we now recognize as Ebonics. In these plantation environments, a Creole and Pidgin often developed, a simplified language that drew vocabulary from English but retained African grammatical patterns. Over time, these Pidgin became more complex and stabilized into a Creole-like language. In some regions like the Sea Islands of South Carolina and Georgia, Gullah developed, a Creole with strong African influences that still actually survives today. But in most of the South, what emerged was a distinctly African American variety of English that absorbed Southern white speech patterns while maintaining a unique African identity. One of the clearest examples of Southern white influence is the pronunciation. The Southern drawl, characterized by elongated vowels and a distinctive intonation, can also be heard in Ebonics. Another shared feature is the use of double negatives, a construction found in both Southern white and Black speech. Like, I don't know what you think this is, I ain't got no money. While this structure exists in many world languages, it's present in both dialects suggests a shared linguistic evolution rooted in the same geographic and social environment. Grammar also tells the story. The use of done as an auxiliary verb, like he done left already, and been to indicate remote past, examples she been married, are staples of Ebonics that also exist in Southern white vernaculars. These forms reflect older English usage preserved in Southern speech and passed down through generations. It's important to understand that while Southern white English influenced Ebonics, the exchange was not equal. The power imbalance of slavery and segregation meant that African Americans had to learn and adapt to the dominant group's language while preserving their own linguistic heritage as best as they could. Ebonics evolved not as a broken or inferior language, but as a legitimate, rule-governed dialect forged in the crucible of oppression and resistance. Its grammar, pronunciation, and vocabulary reflect creativity and resilience, even as it carries the marks of forced cultural assimilation. When millions of African Americans moved north during the Great Migration, they took Ebonics with them. Although it evolved in its new environments, cities like Chicago, Detroit, and Philadelphia, the southern base remained. And I mean, if you ever go there, you could definitely hear it. New York has its own way of speaking, so I would love to do a video on how, you know, they got to where they are today. Even though, of course, you can hear the southern influence in the way that they speak also. The term Ebonics was coined in 1973, actually, by psychologist Robert Williams, who intended it to highlight the African roots of the language spoken by African Americans. Ebonics combines ebony and phonics, reflecting both racial and linguistic heritage. Although the term gained widespread public attention in the 1990s, actually, 1996, when the Oakland Unified School District proposed recognizing Ebonics as a legitimate language system in order to help African American students learn standard English, it had long been the subject of linguistic and educational research. Critics of the Oakland resolution misunderstood its intent, fueling a media firestorm that framed Ebonics as an improper or inferior language.
Ask or ask. Woo! I need all of you right now on the count of three to say ask. On three. 1, 2, 3. Ask. Very good.
Gerard McClendon is giving these high schoolers at Aquinas Academy in Palos Hills an English lesson they've never ever had.
The k sound comes at the end. The S sound comes in the middle. But what do people say? Ax, yes.
Again, it's the form of a subculture there. A subculture that just goes from one generation to another and just passing on poor language skills.
Yet linguistic experts noting that Ebonics, like any language variety, has consistent grammar rules, phonetic patterns, and vocabulary. Far from being broken English, Ebonics is a rule-governed dialect spoken by millions and millions of Americans. But not all Black people speak AAVE or Ebonics, and not everyone who speaks it is Black. Ebonics is a sociolect, meaning it is more closely tied to the social and cultural identity than a race alone. Some African Americans grow up speaking standard English, as some would say, or others regional dialects, all depending on their community, family, and personal identity. Conversely, non-Black individuals raised in predominantly Black communities may speak fluent Ebonics. The idea that all African Americans speak the same way is, of course, a crazy stereotype, and one that overlooks the complexity of Black identity. African Americans are not a monolith, and this goes for everything that we do. Like I said, we hail from urban and rural communities, from the South, North, Midwest, and West, and from immigrant backgrounds as well. African American speech is as diverse as the community itself. Yet, Ebonics has long been stigmatized in education, employment, and media.
Hey, yo, fool, we about to have some hardcore drama go down right about now. That's right. That's what I'm talking about. We get ours. Ooh.
Children who speak Ebonics at home may be labeled as less intelligent or uneducated by teachers unfamiliar with linguistic diversity. Media portrayals often mock Ebonics, using it as a shorthand for criminality, ignorance, or comedy. Despite these challenges, Ebonics has been a wellspring of cultural innovation. From gospel to jazz, from civil rights speeches to hip-hop lyrics, Ebonics has shaped the rhythms, cadence, and creativity of American expression. First, they make fun of it, then they probably take it as their own. Writers like Zora Neale Hurston and Langston Hughes infuse their work with the patterns of Black speech, offering authentic portraits of African American life. Today, artists like Kendrick Lamar and Issa Rae continue that legacy, using Ebonics to tell stories that resonate across cultural boundaries. There is also growing recognition of the importance of linguistic inclusion in education. Culturally responsive teaching practices now encourage educators to value student home languages and dialects. The goal is not to replace Ebonics with standard English, but to help students become more bidialectable, fluent in both their home dialect and their dominant standard. As a lot of you guys might know, this is called code switching. I love those videos of how Black people talk at home and then how they come to work. A lot of us have to do this already.
Hey brother, I'm gonna be real with you. We detectives and we need to borrow a car real quick because we're in the middle of a case and it's an emergency.
I feel you. I do, brother. I really do.
So you let me get a car?
fuck no. I'm your brother. What? We had a cookout, nigga? What?
Mrs. Weinstein, how you doing? Yeah, leave it right there. I'll be right over.
No.
That's how you gonna
It's called a code switch.
Oh, you one of them code switch niggas, huh?
Ultimately, African American Vernacular English is more than just a way of speaking. It's a living, evolving expression of people's history, struggle, creativity, and pride. It carries the echoes of African languages, the scars of enslavement, the vibrancy of Harlem, the protest chants of the civil rights era, and the innovation of the digital age. As linguistic John Rickford said, Ebonics is not deficient, it's just different. And in its difference lies its power. Well, that's it for this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.